Good morning. My area of discussion with you today is to really look at leadership versus management administration, and they are different. Tenets. What is the foundation for leadership? And also to be successful in the private sector. When I retired from ARCO, that's another passage, and when I retired from the military after 36 years, that's another passage. You go through life, and you go through it in such a way that you go through gates, and it's important for you to understand that you are not finished until you are really finished. And so what happens, and how do you do that, and how do you prepare yourself? Well, those building blocks start with family values. I think Rick talked a little bit about that. I had parents that were married for 70 years, and we just lost them last year. So they had a long life, and I think I'm lucky I have long genes, I think, at this point. Education, they always stressed education. I served the military. I always felt that I was going to go do my time in the military. Government, I've served 3 times in government, both as a White House fellow and then again as an assistant secretary, which was an honor for me because I was the first Latino ever to be Senate confirmed in 1976 in the president's cabinet. It only took us 200 years to get there, so, you know, we're on our way. Business, served 2 what I call tours with major corporations, Bethlehem Steel, where I was an industrial engineer back in Pennsylvania, and of course with ARCO, where we moved 4 times. The final piece is community and community service. I don't remember a time where I wasn't volunteering to be on some community board, or it was just part of our makeup. The way that I ended up growing, both as a person and hopefully with the leadership skills that I learned, was with the kind of role models, starting with my father, first Mexican-American to go to the University of Southern California on a football and track scholarship, played in a Rose Bowl, was an alternate to the Olympic team as a hurdler out of Garfield High School. So I had a mentor, I had a role model. And then mentors. I had a mentor that took me through and really helped me focus on my education. The next was in the military, and again, in business. Those mentors were people that took the time to really help me understand whatever role that I was playing or gonna play. And I mentioned that in the way of the military, business, community, political, as well as education. And it's important for all of us to know that we don't get there by ourselves. We get there with our family, and we get there with friends, and we get there with people that see something that help us make that transition into the next level of responsibility. Leaders versus managers. Managers are not leaders unless they learn some very basic principles. And the very first is you lead by example. You never stop learning, and you mentor people that work with you. One of the things I learned in the military, and I was fortunate to lead men in combat as a company commander of a airborne ranger company in 1969 in the Mekong Delta, was people do not follow you unless they have complete trust and you are there leading by that example, because that's where they'll make that ultimate sacrifice. You're not in that role where you're sitting now, but the principles are the same. Because if you are going to be a leader in your position in whatever corporate setting you're in, then you cannot forget those basic principles. The rest of it you can learn, the rest of it is built in you, but you never stop. The final point that I want to leave with you is, have you ever thought about what's your legacy? I've thought about what I want on my tombstone, not that I want to jump out of an airplane again or do things like that when I was a lot younger and I Nowadays, I would never contemplate that. I want on my tombstone a very basic saying. The world is a better place because Al was here. Something for you to think about and what you are made of and what you want to leave behind. If it's family, the legacy of children, your grandchildren, if it's legacy of what you've accomplished in life and where we are in life at this point and where you go to the next level. And I would say to you that it's not just about earning a paycheck. There is a side of me that I haven't talked about, and I wasn't even introduced in that. I've owned, sold, and I've still owned 2 companies. So I have a total of about 9 companies for the last 40 years that I have bought or actually built from scratch. And so I'm always learning. I'm always mentoring. I'm always trying to put back. It's not about taking out. It's about what can you do to make a difference. And so with that, I want to leave you with that thought. I want you to contemplate some of those tenets, some of the things that some of you probably already have in mind. But I never stopped going to college. A BA from the University of Southern California, master's, plus a PhD, plus the Graduate School of Business at Harvard, plus the Inter-American Defense College during the War College when I was a colonel, before I made general. And it's a continuum of trying to be excellent and to have excellence as part of who you are. Thank you very much for having me today.